Good afternoon. Welcome to today's edition of News at NMH.1, where we bring you a quick update of today's news from around the country. Residents of Wellfish Bay remain largely unhappy about government's decision to extend the current lockdown in the Erongo region to 22 June. Business owners are bemoaning loss of income, while job losses have also been reported in the region. In this insert, local businessman Tertius Bierman gives an update about the situation on the ground.
Dear President Geinkop, your people in Erongo has woken this morning fearful and hopeless. Many of them not having had a decent meal, many depressed and living in fear if they will lose their work today or have enough to feed their family. Mr. President, when you and the rest of the country today and tomorrow and every day thereafter enjoy your freedom to live and work, know that government has imprisoned your people in the Erongo and that they are dying piece by piece every day without livelihoods, businesses destroyed, but most of all our souls are crushed. Please, Mr. President, your people are begging you to stop this madness of level 1 lockdown. We only ask to be allowed to exercise our God and constitutional given right to work and earn a living, to care for our children. President, please spare a thought for your people in Erongo today. Be blessed and be safe.
Up next is Tuli Mewawa Niyonanye, the chairperson of the Labour Advisory Council of Namibia, talking about the various issues the council experienced in the last year. She was speaking at the introduction of the 4th Labour Advisory Council in Windhoek yesterday.
February this year. So last year, the minister had given directives to the council within the framework of the decent work agenda, that is a social dialogue. Directive had to do with creation of employment. It also includes creating conditions for transition of informal economy to the formal economy. There were also issues of gender, mainstreaming into the policies of government, and amongst others. But I must also emphasize that the Labour Advisory Council, in terms of the guidelines in the labour legislation, is an advisory arm of the Minister of Labour. It does not work independently, and it operates through the minister. So whatever the deliveries the ministry has done, the minister should consider and take forward to integrate into policies through consultation with the government, especially cabinet, before it reaches parliament if necessary. And those are the matters, some of the matters we looked at. But overall, the social development goal number 8 impresses on member states to ensure eradication of child and forced labor, social protection, increase and creation of productivity, if possible productivity centers in member states, and SMEs development. So that is the framework. So by the end of this year, or the last year council, we had an outstanding matter that matters seriously to Namibia, That is the transition of informal to formal economy. We had done some research, but such research was not quite completed because by the time we got the first draft out, the term of the council had come to an end. So we expect that that will be a priority of the council this year. Apart from that priority, we also have to take into account that the Honorable Minister Utoni has taken over the Ministry of Labour at the COVID period. He has indicated at the launch of the council that he will be visiting the regions to listen to constituencies, that's employers and workers, and to take on board their concerns so that he can integrate those concerns into his request for advice from the council. So we are patiently waiting for the minister, at the same time recognizing that COVID has had a serious toll on the Namibian labor and employment sector. We have learned that between the end of March and of May, about 3,000 people have been already indicated to be retrenched by construction sector, wholesale and retail. That's construction, wholesale and retail, and 2 other sectors. So already we should be expecting a higher toll in terms of people lined up for retrenchment. And I think priority will now be focusing on redirecting the conversations and dialogue at the Labour Advisory Council on how to cope with COVID-19 impact, at the same time making sure decent work agenda sustains or remains the live discussion at the council level.
Thank you very much.
The Art and Culture Relief Fund was launched at the National Theatre of Namibia yesterday. The Ministry of Arts, Culture, of Education, Art and Culture has availed a total of 5.5 million from its internal budget to fund the National Theatre of Namibia. This theatre's chairperson spoke at the event yesterday about the allocation of money to different independent art and culture institutions in the country.
Now they'll be joined by 3 other people that we don't know who they're going to be. So the Art Council as of now is putting out a call for nominations for 3 public jurors. The public will nominate these jurors, they'll send the applications, we will give a short listing and give it back to the public to then say who is it or how do they vote and nominate who those 3 public jurors are going to be. This is particularly important because of issues of favoritism and also the idea that consultation and involving citizens in decision making about the things that affect them. So also democratizing the process has been very important for us in this regard. So it is in the public's hand to nominate 3 jurors that can affect the outcome of these processes. Now, there has been about $800,000, that has been budgeted for this particular aspect of one aspect of the grant. So each artist is eligible to apply for $2,000 maximum, and we're targeting between 300 and 500 artists nationwide. The idea is there to come up with the works or provide a program plan of what would you do similar to the programs that were being run by the NTN, I think successfully mirroring that but ensuring a nation spread. So that will be eligible of 2,000 maximum between 300 and 500 artists. In terms of organizational support, any institution can apply for up to $75,000 Namibian. That is a total budget of $1.5 million Namibian. That's for organizational support. Just because we find that if we supply organizations, the multiplier effect is a lot more in ensuring a wider spread. So that will be a target of between 20 and 40 organizations. Just because it's $75,000 doesn't mean that you have to apply for all of it. If you just need 15, be within your scope. Also, we'll be able to identify where the needs are. We've done this. We can, we're like we can sniff it out where the people want to corrupt the process. So be, I think, honest in terms of the work that it takes you to process. But it's up to $75,000 Namibian dollars, and we're trying to target between 20 and 40 institutions. Then we are providing a total allocation of $1 million to support other public institutions or public interest institutions. And I would like to list those as we go. We are supporting, and they would have to come up with their own programs to then further support artists. So what this means is artists can access these public institutions because they're going to come up with programs. So do you see how it's like many ways, there are many doors to the house. It's a Namibian home. And so the first one is the Namibian Art Gallery will be receiving 150,000 Namibian dollars. The National Theatre of Namibia will be receiving 150,000 Namibian dollars. The College of the Arts, so the students at the College of the Arts will also access funding that they can come up with programs at the college. That'll be 50,000 Namibian dollars. Museums Association is going to receive 150,000 Namibian dollars. Namibian Film Commission is going to receive 250,000 Namibian dollars. NASCAM is going to receive 150,000 Namibian dollars. Organizations supporting people with living with disabilities are going to receive 100,000 Namibian dollars. So that's direct support for public interest or public institutions from the fund.
Residents of Rehoboth are fuming about the allocation of 30 urban, which they claim to people which they claim were not on the list to receive land from the city of this town council. Yolanda now reports from Rehoboth.
Some residents of Rehoboth were fuming yesterday when the Rehoboth Town Council handed over 30 erven to beneficiaries, while others are claiming that they've been waiting decades to receive a piece of land. Mayor Christina Blau is proud of what the team has accomplished despite many challenges during this project. Rudy van Wyk from Rehoboth took this video.
There has been many delays, some of which are subjected to vandalism and sabotage of processes that was made. In particular, the earthquakes that were removed. Council has to redo again, as well as illegal occupation and land grabbing that we experience while busy with the planning and developing of the space. But we made it. Today is a clear indication that when you pull together and fight for progress amidst trying circumstances, when you keep moving forward and not stepping backward, anything is possible.
And now onto the daily front pages of Namibia's newspapers. Republican reports on the death of well-known Shemep resident Lucas Nel, who passed away in his sleep peacefully 2 nights ago. Nel would have been 98 years old on the 14th of July. May his soul rest in peace. The Namibian Sun reports that there are 130,000 Namibians living abroad since 2013. Labour Minister Utoni Nujoma released the figures yesterday at the launch of the National Labour Migration Policy. Nujoma urged the Namibians currently working in other countries to return to Namibia so that the country could benefit from their skills. Allgemeine Zeitung reports on the current budget debates in the National Assembly. Finance Minister Ipumbushimi represented his ministry's budget motivation to lawmakers in Parliament this week. New Era reports that Pupkewitz has announced a voluntary separation to its employees as a consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic. It quotes the group's financial director, Eugene Shepherd, who said the company has commenced the process by giving those staff who would like to voluntarily leave the group the chance to do so by accepting a voluntary separation package. The Namibian takes the story further by quoting Pupkewitz chairman Mike Leeming as saying that the holding company has actively pursued all options available that would help the company avoid retrenching staff members, but that the effects of COVID-19 renders the current circumstances unavoidable. Also appearing on their front page is an announcement by Fisheries Minister Albert Kawana that government is considering revealing the names of fisheries shareholders if there are no restrictions to do so. And now moving on to the inside pages of those daily newspapers. New Era reports on the suspended National Fishing Corporation of Namibia CEO Mike Nipunya's bail hearing, which was postponed for further submissions. Nipunya, of course, remains in custody. The Namibian reports that the city of Windhoek increased tariffs to buy vehicles and equipment, among other things. Council documents show that the municipality has submitted a proposal to increase tariffs by an average of 2%. Allgemeine Zeitung reports that former magistrate judge Melanie Tron will probably have to serve her full 2 years prison sentence after she failed yesterday in an appeal against her conviction and the sentence imposed on her in the High Court. The Namibian Sun reports that Walfish Bay-based teacher Corrine Steenkamp deeply regrets racial comments she made on Facebook, saying that civilization was not for black people and that the world was tired of uncivilized people. On to Republican, which reports that the city of Windhoek is going ahead with its plan to offer information and communication technology services despite an appeal by Paratus Telecom. And now we have a look at an interview Dani Boysen had with Liberty Life Namibia's MD Monique Kloete this morning.
We have a special guest today in NMH at 1. It's Monique Kloete. She's MD of Liberty Life Namibia. Good day, Monique. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Danny. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How has COVID-19 impacted the long-term insurance industry?
Danny, as with all other industries, the lockdown that's happened in Namibia has definitely impacted insurers as well. Insurers generally are very well positioned for major loss events like pandemics, but the financial impacts do take a bit of time to play out. The impact on any particular insurer will be based on the diversity of their book, what their terms and conditions look like, so it would be impacted mainly by the various exposures of the different insurers. So not one insurer will behave in the same way.
What steps has Liberty taken to accommodate clients? Obviously you have many of those, and a lot of businesses are making special arrangements.
Yes, so we do find that our customers are in very difficult financial positions. A few of them have come to us already. Liberty generally prides itself on being quite flexible with customers. So our products have been structured for premium flexibility, for a relaxation on premiums and so forth. We've looked at changing even the methodology of receiving payments, because we understand that obviously cash is high risk in a COVID environment as well. So we're looking at mobile solutions, introducing different options to customers so that we can protect them as well as what we protect our employees.
So the industry is, at this stage at least, able to absorb the impact.
So your insurers, after particularly the global crisis in 2008, insurers and the banking industry have been given very clear guidelines, very clear prescriptions through Solvency II and Basel on how they should be reserving. So there is additional reserving built into insurers for pandemics, for these type of major loss events. So there is a bit of a buffer in an insurer. We obviously understand that we can only predict to so far. We don't know when these things will happen, but yes, there is protection built in.
Like you said, a lot of people are struggling financially at the moment. They are maybe have lost their job or they're working for less. What would your advice be in terms of a life insurance? Is it important that you try to pay your full premium, even though you might have less over to cover your basic expenses?
You know, Danny, I think a lot of people, I read an article recently about the consumer satisfaction index that was performed in South Africa, and through that article they were saying that a number of people would be focusing more on price and what is being offered rather than the fancy add-ons to insurance going forward. And I think that's important, is customers need to look at what their needs are. Naturally, I would say to you, insurance is important, but that's because of my personal risk aversion. So I'm the type of person who believes that in long-term insurance is important, because you never know what lays around the corner for you. In this time of COVID-19 as well, you know, that financial impact, when you've lost the salary and something does happen to that individual, the family may be left destitute if that insurance is not upheld.
So yes, it's important to try your best to honor your obligations in terms of insurance. I think it goes for all insurance. Are there anything else you would like to share with our viewers?
Danny, I think the one thing that I've mentioned it before when chatting to viewers as well, is financial literacy is so key. Learning how to manage the little bit that you have, because when you can manage a little, you can manage a lot. So I think it's important for people to really take the time to understand their needs and the difference between a need and a desire, and to focus on those needs first and understand the implications should you no longer be around. Understand the implications to your family. Understand the impact of that reduced salary on your expenses. Where can I cut? What can I do to try and limit or to try and best use the finances that I do have? I think that is really, really key to get us through this period of time.
Financial literacy is a topic that the industry has been working hard on for many years. COVID-19, in terms of this new normal, are teaching us a lot of lessons. And do you think we are also, due to this pandemic, in your industry learning important lessons, not only the industry, but normal people that work, pay a salary, and look after their families?
Danny, I think the most important lesson that I've learned is to slow down, to take a little bit of time, to really focus on yourself as well. Very often we are so busy, we're chasing things in life. We don't take the time to slow down and spend the time with our families. Our children are young for a short period of time. That's the biggest lesson that I've learned in this period of time, is slow down a little bit, take a bit more time with your family, really enjoy the quality of life that we do have in this country. I don't think we really appreciate what we do have in Namibia.
Thank you very much for that insight. Yes, take time to appreciate what you have. That was our guest, Monique Klute, MD of Liberty Life Namibia.
Ain't nothing but a party going on in here.
tough times it is. Wonderful advice from Monique Klutter, Liberty's Managing Director. That is all then from us at NMH at 1. Please stay tuned for our weather snapshot, and until tomorrow, keep warm and be productive.